Rome didn't fall in a single night. There was no final explosion, no dramatic ending. Most people imagine Rome collapsing in chaos. But what if that collapse never came? What if the Roman Empire survived its darkest centuries? What if its institutions adapted instead of breaking? And more importantly, what would our world look like today if Rome had never fallen? When we talk about the fall of Rome, we're really talking about something deeper. We're talking about the collapse of order. For centuries, Rome was not just an empire. It was a system, a machine that connected roads, laws, languages, trade, and ideas across 3 continents. So when that system fractured, the world didn't just change. It fragmented. But history is not destiny. It's a sequence of decisions. And today, in this lab, we're going to change just one thing. In our timeline, Rome struggled with 3 fatal problems: internal political chaos, economic instability, and pressure from outside forces. But imagine a different outcome. In this alternate timeline, Rome does something rare for an empire. It reforms itself in time. Instead of endless power struggles, the imperial system evolves into a more stable bureaucratic structure. Corruption is contained. Taxation becomes predictable. Military loyalty shifts from generals to institutions. The empire doesn't become perfect. It becomes sustainable. And that changes everything. Rome survives because it stops expanding blindly. Instead of constant conquest, the empire focuses inward. Infrastructure becomes the priority. Roads are repaired instead of abandoned. Cities are maintained, not left to decay. Most importantly, Rome begins to integrate new cultures instead of resisting them. Germanic tribes aren't treated as enemies. They're absorbed, not as subjects, but as citizens. This single shift prevents centuries of fragmentation. Europe doesn't collapse into isolated regions. It stays connected. In our world, Rome's fall leads to the Middle Ages, a long period of decentralization, limited literacy, and technological stagnation. But in this timeline, there is no dark age. Knowledge doesn't disappear into monasteries. Engineering continues to evolve. Roman concrete, aqueducts, and mechanical systems keep improving. Printing doesn't wait until the 15th century. It emerges centuries earlier, driven by a bureaucracy that needs information to move fast. Literacy spreads, not because of religion, but administration. And that accelerates history. With stability comes experimentation. Water-powered machinery becomes widespread. Early mechanical clocks appear centuries ahead of schedule. Navigation tools improve faster, pushing exploration beyond the Mediterranean much earlier. Rome doesn't just rule land. It dominates trade. Africa, Asia, and Europe remain connected under one massive economic network. And when innovation compounds without interruption, the results are staggering. By the time our world is entering the Renaissance, this world is already approaching an industrial mindset. Here's where things get really interesting. If Rome never falls, the modern concept of nation-state struggles to exist. There is no France as we know it, no Germany, no Italy divided and reunified. Instead, there is a continental system, regional identities inside a larger imperial framework. Wars still happen, but they're smaller, controlled, and less destructive. Global conflicts like World War I or II, unlikely. The incentives simply aren't there. Fast forward to something resembling our present. Technology exists. Electricity exists. Global communication exists. But it all developed under a continuous Roman institutional legacy. Law is unified. Trade is standardized. Borders are administrative, not ideological. This world is not perfect. It's not peaceful, but it's radically more stable. And history feels less chaotic. So what does this alternate Rome teach us? That progress doesn't depend only on innovation. It depends on continuity. Civilizations don't collapse because they lack intelligence. They collapse because they fail to adapt. Rome fell in our world not because it had to, but because it couldn't change fast enough. And that raises an uncomfortable question. Which modern systems are we assuming are permanent, even as they quietly crack? This wasn't fiction. It was history tested. Here, in the History Lab, we don't rewrite the past for fantasy. We rebuild it to understand the present. If one decision could change everything, what would you change next? Subscribe to What If? History Lab, because history is never as fixed as it seems.